The most common mistakes you can make in the video game. Team default, fortitude, defense twice. Not necessarily the worst mistakes or the stupidest mistakes, just the most common. Stuff you see all of the time and the kind of mistakes you might see a player making even after hundreds of hours in the game. For example, an NG building their sentry gun right next to someone else's is a cardinal sin, but not something you see too often. Whereas an NG turtling between their dispenser and sentry gun the entire game, that's something you see all the friggin' time. But first, thank you to the sponsor of this video, World of Warships. World of Warships is a completely free-to-play game available for PC. I love military sim games, and this one has super realistic graphics, dynamic weather, beautiful water effects, and 40 maps to try out. You can choose from battleships, destroyers, aircraft carriers, cruisers, and even submarines, playing in huge 12v12 arenas, either as a lone wolf or in divisions with your friends. New content is released every month, including ships, cosmetics, new nations, and more. World of Warships is also kind of like a digital museum, with its detailed recreations of vessels from the First and Second World War, and I love geeking out over this kind of thing. It also features many blueprints that never saw the light of day and which have been recreated and given new life in this game. Oh, and the game is also available on consoles. Download World of Warships using the link in the description and register with the promo code FIRE to enjoy a huge starter pack including 200 doubloons, the Premium Battleship USS Texas, 1 million credits, and a premium account for 7 days. For the Scout, it's not taking advantage of the pistol. Relatively new players might see this thing and think it's not worth their time, but in reality, quickly switching over to the pistol of your choice to finish off an enemy can be much more efficient than waiting to reload. For Soldier, it's never using the shotgun. Some players completely neglect this weapon, even when faced with competent pyros who can air blast everything you throw at them. Having a loadout to hand with a shotgun as the secondary is essential for any decent soldier player. For pyro, it's picking pyro. A lolly lols. Lol. For pyro, it's actually the same as soldier, completely neglecting your shotgun. The flare guns are great weapons for almost any situation, but so is the shotgun, and any pyro worth his weight in fuel will know how to make use of their shotgun to finish off enemies just out of reach of the flamethrower and mow down other pyros. For Demo Man, it has to be not charging your sticky bomb launcher shots, because whenever I talk about this mechanic in a video, I always get hundreds of comments saying I have 7,000 hours in the game and I had no idea this was a thing. This single mechanic adds so much versatility to the sticky bomb launcher, allowing you to suppress snipers, finish off fleeing enemies, or deal damage to anyone on the battlefield, no matter their range. For Heavy, it's not sharing your food or eating your food in front of a medic, both of which are just plain rude. Sandwich etiquette is essential for being a good Heavy. Knowing when to stop shooting and start saving lives can be a game changer, especially when you're saving the life of your team's medic. For NG, it's selfish dispenser placement. Too often you see NGs building their infinite health and ammo machines directly behind themselves and their sentry gun, sometimes not even visible to their team. Turtling with a dispenser behind you can be effective, but so is keeping your entire team topped up with health and ammo. For medic, it's actively trying to use the Ubersaw. It's fine to use the Ubersaw as a last resort whenever you would melee anyway, but going out of your way to try and get that tasty 25% extra Uber charge and being lured too far away from your team is a big mistake. You see way too many medics dying because they couldn't resist getting their Uber that little bit quicker, but as a medic, living is your most important job. For Sniper, it's not taunting after every kill. Lol, I did another job. For Sniper, it's being too static, never relocating, never changing angles, just going to the map's classic sniper spot and getting cozy for the rest of the round. This will make you vulnerable to other snipers, spies, scouts, and bombing soldiers and demos, whereas keeping mobile will give you the upper hand in any sniper duel and will probably save your life a few times. For Spy, it's not making the most of your revolver. Some spies overlook this weapon entirely, when in some instances it can be just as deadly as the knife while keeping you at a safe range. If you are behind enemy lines and you see someone with low health, there really isn't much reason to get close. Sit back and pick him off from afar and be on your way. For Demo Knight, it's only using your charge offensively. You should use the charge just as much to escape as you do for engaging. If you can get close to the enemy without using it, then this is often preferable, as it leaves you with a very powerful escape option and another tool on your belt during the fight. For Huntsman, it's going Huntsman. Oh wait, we did that joke already. For huntsman, it's playing as a sniper. And what I mean by this is using the exact same spots you would if you were playing regular sniper, shooting at extremely long ranges and dueling with other snipers. You're not going to win those duels, and any headshots you get at that range is just going to be down to luck. Sometimes it's better to get a bit more mobile and try and take shots at medium ranges. For battle NG, it's not building a dispenser or a telly. Often you will see a gunslinger NG running around on the front lines alongside their mini sentry gun with the rest of their buildings nowhere to be seen. It only takes 2 seconds to get these up and they will provide a huge amount of value to your team. It was actually really difficult to pick just one common mistake for each class. So here are some of the other ones I noted down, many of which are your suggestions. There's a few good ones here for Scout, but the one I thought was really interesting was the idea of not necessarily needing to always get into point blank range to try and take someone out. It's very tempting to try and get close all the time as Scout, but occasionally, say if you're facing a pyro, you may want to just chip away at them from a distance. A few here for Soldier. One I'm sometimes guilty of is shooting at a pyro, finding out they're really good at deflecting your shots and not being smart with the next couple of shots. There are many ways to counter this, trying to bait out the air blast, switching weapons, getting the hell out of there, but sometimes you just end up shooting instinctively again and they take you out. There was loads of interesting stuff for Pyro, a couple that I thought were worth mentioning. One is the idea that some Pyros get to a certain level of competence with their combos and they get to the point where they try to get these combos all of the time more than they actually need to. For example, they'll put just a single lick of flame on the enemy, switch to the flare gun or a melee and try and get some kind of crit combo when actually they were already half dead. You could have just held down M1 for a couple more seconds and finished them off. And the second one was the idea of overusing your air blast. Air blasting really quickly eats through your ammunition, and some people get a bit hyper with their deflecting, trying to deflect things that weren't actually going to cause anyone any damage, so they end up just wasting their ammo. As I quite like playing Demo Man, I've made an entire video purely about this guy, so I'm going to skip him for now. Just search for Demo Man mistakes if you want to check that out. Positioning and situational awareness are pretty much everything for Heavy, but many people still can get these fundamentals wrong even after many hours playing the class. You are fat and slow, and so you shouldn't really be straying too far from safety, be that your team or just some cover. A few interesting ones here. Knowing when your base is a lost cause is a big one, I think. Sometimes it's hard to judge, and many will often just think, you know, if I just crouch behind my sentry gun, keep hitting it, maybe I can tank this push. You really need to be aware of what's going on and when you need to get the heck out of there. Also, setting up in the same spot over and over. It's one that I can be guilty of because on some maps there's just such a great spot that I can't resist building there. And maybe it's okay to do that for certain spots, but generally speaking, mixing it up can be definitely worthwhile too. I'm definitely guilty of a couple of these. For example, I never switch my medigun because I'm lazy and only have one loadout for medic. But often there are sometimes much better ways to counter the enemy team's composition, and I think many people underestimate some of the other mediguns. And one I added here is the idea of switching to your crossbow when you really didn't need to. Sometimes you're feeling really confident, I'm going to flick over to my crossbow, top his health up really quickly, but then you end up missing because they do a little jiggle, and you embarrassed yourself and you could have just held down M1. Most of these are pretty standard stuff. Let me know if I missed any big ones. It's all about positioning, situational awareness. There's a few in here. For all of these I could have put about what weapons you should avoid, but I thought I wouldn't touch on that for this video else it would be too long. I had a huge long list for Spy. Some of these I actually wasn't too clued up on. Picking the same disguise is something I'm guilty of. Sometimes I get lazy and hit the same combination of keys, but spending a second to think of who you're actually going to disguise as and where you're going to be on the map, it's definitely worthwhile thinking about that kind of thing. And I really liked the idea of picking a target that is distracted by the enemy. Sounds very obvious, but many players will try and pick off people as they are leaving spawn, as they're heading to the front lines with nothing else distracting them, and therefore they're much more likely to be spy checking. And here are the last subclasses. A lot of these are kind of covered in the other sections, but just a few extra ones that are specific for these subclasses. Now, just for fun, let's take a look at what this list would look like if we were looking at the most common mistakes that noobs make in TF2. Again, it's tricky, but if I had to pick just one, it would have to be these. For Scout, it's spamming jump. For Soldier, either not aiming at the feet or maybe just not rocket jumping. For Pyro, it's mindlessly WM1ing. For Demo, it's got to be spamming. For Heavy, it's either staying spun up the entire game or just reactively spinning up only after they see an enemy. For NG, it's turtling or maybe building next to someone else or maybe building on last when the game is still on first. For Medic, it's Ubering the moment you have it. For Sniper, it's staying scoped in the entire game with no awareness of your surroundings, although shooting shooting through glass or a fence is pretty funny, but you do kind of learn that within a very short time. For Spy, it's running directly towards your target. For Demo Knight, it's charging head-on into the entire enemy team. For Huntsman, it's just spamming, shooting and praying. And for Battle NG, it's repairing your mini sentry. So there we have it. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. I thought there were some really interesting little ideas in there, some little nuggets of information that may help you with your gameplay. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, thanks for watching. I love you lots, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
We have secured